Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I bid you welcome from wherever it is you're watching or listening. Welcome to the Nerdivergent channel. I'm your host, Nerdivergent. Today, we'll be taking a look at the movie Masters of the Universe from 1987, spoiler free, of course, starring Dolph Lundgren as He Man, Frank Langella as Skeletor, Chelsea Field as Teela, John Cypher as Man at Arms, Meg Foster as Evil Lynn, Billy Barty as Gwildor, Courtney Cox as Julie, and Robert Duncan McNeil as Kevin. It is easy to explain why fans were disappointed, but just as easy to understand why this movie has developed a loyal following. It leaves out a lot of major characters, changes a lot of the mythology, and moves most of the story away from Eternia. Yet, as a 1980s sci fi fantasy adventure, there is still a lot here that works. But before we get into it, would you please hit that like and subscribe and the bell to get all of my latest reviews? I'm trying to get to 100 subs, and your help is very much appreciated. Now, let's get into it. Masters of the Universe was released in 1987, directed by Gary Goddard and produced by Cannon Films, a studio known for having enormous ambition, even when the movie did not always match it. The film opens on Eternia after Skeletor and his forces have taken control of Castle Grayskull. He-Man, Teela, Man-at-Arms, and an inventor named Gwildor escape through the use of a cosmic key. They arrive on Earth, where the key is discovered by two teenagers, Julie and Kevin. Skeletor's forces follow, and what began as a battle on Eternia turns into a chase through a small American town. That setup reveals the movie's greatest weakness. People went to a Masters of the Universe movie wanting Eternia, Castle Grayskull, strange creatures, colorful warriors, advanced vehicles, magic, and technology all sharing the same world. The movie gives us a taste of that and then takes most of it away. Moving the heroes to Earth was probably practical. Streets, stores, and suburban houses are cheaper to film than an alien kingdom. But creatively, it makes the movie feel like He-Man wandered into somebody else's adventure. Some of that contrast is entertaining, but Eternia should have been made the main attraction. Dolph Lundgren certainly looks like He-Man. He has the height, physique, and physical presence necessary to make the character believable during the action. Where the performance struggles is in giving He-Man a life outside of that appearance. This version does not have Prince Adam as a separate identity, so we lose that contrast between the ordinary man and legendary hero. He-Man arrives already fully formed. He is noble, serious, and brave, but the story gives him very little room to change. Lundgren is best when communicating through movement. He handles the physical scenes with confidence and carries himself like someone who expects to be followed into battle. His quieter dialogue can feel stiff, but his earnestness fits the material. Chelsea Field's Teela is capable and direct, although the movie does not give her enough to do. John Cypher gives the Man-at-Arms the tired patience of a soldier trying to keep everyone focused. Billy Barty's Gwildor was created for the film as an inventor and comic relief guide to the cosmic key. He's not Orko, but Barty gives him enough warmth and humor that the character works better than he probably should. This is the performance that gives the entire movie a reason to exist. Langella does not play Skeletor as though he is appearing in a cheap children's movie. He plays him as a Shakespearean tyrant who believes the universe has been waiting for him to claim it. Every entrance has weight. Every pause feels deliberate. Every speech sounds as though Skeletor has been rehearsing it for centuries in anticipation of finally having an audience. The costume and makeup do a great deal of work, but Langella gives the face underneath the skull an actual personality. This Skeletor is arrogant, cruel, theatrical, intelligent, and completely consumed by the need to prove that power belongs to him. The movie allows him to be strange, he looks unnatural, sounds unnatural, and commands soldiers who appear to have walked out of several unrelated fantasy and science fiction stories. That is exactly what a live-action Skeletor should feel like. Meg Foster's Evelyn is an excellent match for him. Her pale eyes, controlled voice, and still expressions give the character a cold presence. She makes every scene feel more dangerous because she always appears to be studying everyone in the room. The Earth characters are more mixed. Courtney Cox brings sincerity to Julie, while Robert Duncan McNeil makes Kevin likable, and the character's interest in music gives him the believable reason to experiment with the cosmic key. The story adds a human center, but also takes time away from the characters whose names are on the poster. James Tolkien plays Detective Lubick with exactly that irritated authority you would expect. He approaches interdimensional warriors the same way he might approach noisy teenagers, creating some of the movie's better comedy. Visually, Masters of the Universe is more impressive than its reputation suggests. The production design gives the Eternian costumes, machinery, weapons, and interiors a handcrafted quality. Castle Grayskull looks massive, ancient, metallic, and ceremonial. Skeletor's throne feels designed for public worship as much as it is for military control. The practical costumes and makeup give the villains a physical presence. Beastman, Blade, Saurod, and Garg may not be the exact group fans expected, but they look as though they occupy the same space as the actors. The problem is that the movie keeps showing us glimpses of a more interesting world and then returning to ordinary streets. There is no Battle Cat, no Prince Adam, no King Randor, no Orko, and very little opportunity to understand Eternia beyond the immediate conflict. The movie often feels closer to a general canon film, like a space sci-fi adventure with He-Man added to it. Still, when the movie commits to the spectacle, it can be surprisingly effective. The laser battles, flying vehicles, sword fights, smoke, colored lighting, and large sets create the feeling of a comic book brought to life before digital effects made the process easier. Some effects have aged better than others, and the repeated laser fire can make He-Man feel more like a science fiction soldier than a fantasy hero. But the film has texture. The armor looks heavy. The rooms have shadows. The creatures have faces. Even when something is obviously artificial, it is a physical present. Bill Conti's musical score may be the movie's greatest strength. The music is heroic, loud, sweeping, and completely sincere. It tells us that this story matters, even when we are watching a confused police officer confront interdimensional troops outside a music store. A lesser score might have emphasized the camp and made the movie feel like a joke. Conti's music does the opposite. It gives the film momentum and helps sell the scale that the budget cannot always provide. The pacing is uneven. The opening moves quickly. The middle spends too long searching for the key, and the movie occasionally repeats the same chase without adding too much to it. However, the final portion remembers that He-Man and Skeletor should represent opposite ideas about power. He-Man sees strength as something used to defend other people. Skeletor sees strength as proof that other people exist to kneel. The screenplay does not explore that difference deeply, but Langella's performance gives the conflict more weight than the story has earned. Masters of the Universe is not the movie the franchise deserved in 1987. It does not capture the full imagination of Eternia, and it asks its title character to share too much of his own movie with an earthbound teenage adventure. But I also cannot dismiss it as a complete failure. It has memorable production design, a tremendous villain, a powerful score, practical craftsmanship, and the kind of unguarded sincerity that many modern movies are afraid to show. It simply presents laser rifles, swords, monsters, glowing keys, and skull-faced dictators as though they are all natural and belong together. And that is the Masters of the Universe they do. I want to explain why it is I decided to do a Masters of the Universe 1987 review just after a Masters of the Universe 2026 review. First off, they're both theatrical releases. They're the only ones of the Masters of the Universe or He-Man brand to ever hit theaters. So if you see one, you might go see this one and think it is pretty much on the same scale. As I've already indicated throughout my review, it's not the same quality. It's not even on Eternia for the most part, but it is a good movie. It is something that you would want to see again because of the charm and character from the time, but it wouldn't be high on your radar unless you're really reminded about it. So now you're probably wondering at this point of the video, would I recommend this movie? Yes, but with some very important expectations. I give Masters of the Universe 1987 a 5.5 out of 10. As a faithful He-Man adaptation, it's disappointing. It spends too little time on Eternia, removes too many familiar characters, and does not give He-Man enough fantasy in its absolutely worst scene. Frank Langella's Skeletor alone makes this movie memorable, and Bill Conti's music gives the adventure a size and energy that the production can't always create visually, especially for the effects that they had at the time. I recommend watching it at home with somebody who enjoys older fantasy movies and seeing how much the filmmakers attempted with the resources they had. The 1987 Masters of the Universe may not have had enough money, enough Eternia, or enough understanding of what fans wanted from He-Man, but it does have a personality and charm that will last with you. And for nearly 40 years, that personality is the reason people are still talking about it. Let me know in the comments what you think about Masters of the Universe from 1987. Did you grow up watching it? Discover it years later on television, home video, or streaming? And are you thinking about seeing it for the first time after the new movie? Do you consider it a bad adaptation or an underrated cult classic, or a little bit of both? Let me know down in the comments. And before leaving, would you please hit that like and subscribe and the bell to get all of my latest reviews? I'm trying to get to 100 subs, and your help is very much appreciated. Please look at my gaming channel over at Nerdivergent 199 Gaming here on YouTube. The link is down in the description. And with that said, we'll see you all at the next one. Take care.